morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to carry on that lovely series where we look at free Pokemon cards that are never going to be released again. Although, I do need to add this caveat at the start now. We've done a bunch of these videos. It is inevitable that at some point, a card that I feature in one of these videos is actually going to be reprinted. It is going to happen, but hopefully not one of the ones in this video. These are cards that basically, through their general goodness and other cards that we have seen released since, we are fairly sure Pokemon are saying, look, this isn't coming back for now. Don't worry. So why don't we start off with a card that everybody wants back, N. Or if you want to give it a different name, Rocket's Admin. I should mention this video should be going up while I'm at the World Championships in London. So what's the stream, would ya? The stream's going to be awesome. I'm going to be tweeting it out at the WASI, you know, when it's happening and all of that. So do make sure you go and watch it. So N then. Why was N so good? And N was good. It's a reprint of Rocket's Admin. And essentially, both players shuffle the hand into their deck, and then they draw a card for each of their remaining prize cards. And the thing is, this card is amazing as a comeback card. And it is amazing as a comeback card. But it's also amazing in the early game. Because if I draw this turn 1, and I've got nothing going on whatsoever, you know what? That's fine. Because I can just play this. Get a new hand of 6 cards. Is it perfect? No, obviously. Is it useful? Oh my, yes. It's incredibly useful. And that's what makes N so unique. Other than, obviously, the whole Rocket's Admin thing. The fact that it's so good in the early game. And the fact that it's so good as a comeback card. If you've got 6 prizes remaining and your opponent's got 1 prize remaining, you play this. Your opponent goes down to a 1-card hand, and unless they draw something really good, they're in a lot of trouble. And then I can make a comeback because I've got a 6-card hand and life is good. That's why N is amazing. Early game gets me out of a jam. Late game, great comeback card. And it's gone. And the thing is, an awful lot of people want this back. Because here's the thing. I played a lot when N was around. A lot. Like, I was one of literally the most active players in the world. And I've got promo cards to prove it. And the thing is, you found good players always seem to have this card when they needed it. And not so good players did not tend to have this card when they needed it. And that's not a coincidence, incidentally. Because there are things you can do whereby you don't play it early, you thin your deck, etc. to increase your chances of drawing into it. It's a good card that brings balance to the game. But arguably, if you want to take a different tact, it is a card which allows less skilled players to make unfair comebacks. Oh, they played N and the other player just didn't draw out of it and they won. I'm not saying that's what I think, but I'm saying that's something that has been and could be lobbied at it. But the reason I believe it's not coming back is really simple. They keep giving us worse versions of N. So take Marnie as an example. Marnie is another card that can give you a decent amount of draw in the early game while also slowing down and hurting your opponent, but Marnie is nothing compared to Judge, because Marnie always gives both players essentially 5 cards at the start of their next turn. So you get 5 cards, your opponent gets 4 cards, but then at the beginning of their next turn they draw a 5th card. So it essentially puts both players down to 5 cards, either now or at the beginning of their turn, and you know what? That's not as good. That is not as good in the early game for draw power, and it's not as good in the late game for disruption. It is not a patch on what N was. It's performing a similar kind of role in some decks, but it's not the same, and let's not pretend it's the same. But then we very recently got Roxanne. And as a comeback card, Roxanne is potentially amazing, and in some ways it's better. The thing is, Roxanne can only be played if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. And it gives you a 6-card hand and your opponent a 2-card hand. And actually, this can be played even if you're winning the game, as long as your opponent's got 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. The problem is, this does not have the early game draw that N has, and that's the problem. N is not the same as something like Marnie or Roxanne. It is way better. But the fact of the matter is, it has been years since N actually got printed, and as it stands at the moment, there is no sign of it coming back. We just get weaker and weaker cards. And I'm not sure it's actually coming back. It hasn't been printed since Generation 6. And we are just about to move into Generation 9 pretty soon. That should tell you everything you need to know. Sorry, because I know this one hurts, because I know a lot of people want N back. But how about we talk about a card that we want potentially even more than that? Double Dragon Energy. And here's the thing. With a card like N, I can explain to you that we've had these other similar but different cards. Pokemon seems to be going a different tact. They've had a chance to reprint N, but they've actually just reprinted cards that are nowhere near as good. The problem is, I can't necessarily do that with Double Dragon Energy. It is a double energy that can only be attached to Dragon Pokemon, and it provides 2 of any energy. And the thing is, I can't necessarily sit here and give you some detailed reason why it's definitely not coming back. But we keep getting cards that would be so good with Double Dragon Energy, and Double Dragon Energy is just not coming back. And it absolutely could. Bearing in mind, they brought dragons back with Evolving Skies. Dragons were gone for a while, they were nowhere to be found, and then Evolving Skies came out and it brought dragons back and life was good. But they don't want to give us Double Dragon Energy back, because they could be doing this. And they seem to kind of almost deliberately not be doing this. We could look at cards like Dragonite V. Free energy, 160. That sure would be better with Double Dragon Energy. Or even, Dragonite V Star. 4 energy, 250. Imagine if you could have Double Dragon Energy. That would help quite a lot. Flygon V smashing V Maxes. That would be very nice if we could have Double Dragon Energy to give it a little bit of a help. But again, Flygon's been out for a while now. They could have given us Double Dragon Energy to help Flygon come back and do some good. They haven't. And they've had plenty of opportunity to do so. I should even mention the Dragonite I showed you a minute ago isn't even as good as a Dragonite with Dragon Gale. Because seriously, the Dragonite with Dragon Gale, because Melanie is a thing, and this uses water energy, you could legit just go Double Dragon Energy, and then Melanie, and then all of a sudden you're ready to go right now for, dealing 250 damage. And this Dragonite is actually better than the other Dragonite I showed you. So, yeah, that would be pretty gosh darn good. And yet, there is absolutely no sign of Double Dragon Energy coming back in any way, shape, or form. Duraludon V Max, that's a very good card. And actually, that is one of the best decks in the format, even without Double Dragon Energy. With Double Dragon Energy, all of a sudden, now we've got a different way to play the card, because you only need to accelerate 1 extra energy with your Double Dragon, and boom, you're off and rolling. I'm not going to keep going, all right? You hopefully see the point at this stage. There are a bunch of dragons that could really take advantage of this. And it's not that we're not getting decent special energy cards, it's that none of them are doing this. We've had Double Turbo Energy, a double colorless energy that means you do 20 less damage. That's a thing. But that's not going to help the Dragon Pokemon. And again, when we look at these cards, Dragon Pokemon need help. Dragon Pokemon have awkward attack costs. That was the whole point of Double Dragon Energy. Nothing's changed in that regard. Even Rapid Strike Pokemon got Rapid Strike Energy back in Battle Styles. And yet, Dragon Pokemon, they get nothing, ladies and gentlemen. No help in this regard. And at this stage, it's kind of got to be deliberate. Pokemon have printed a couple of double energies since, either just before or just after Dragon Pokemon came back. It's not double energies, it is double dragon energy, which is just not coming back. And I'm sorry, but at this stage, we all know dragons need a bit of help. Pokemon could easily have used this as kind of a, hey, dragons are back and we're giving them double dragon energy. But they haven't done that, and I just don't think they're going to. And with a bit of a weirder card, let's finish off talking about Kiawah. Now, Kiawah is another one of those cards that people kind of want back. The thing is, Kiawah is not as good now. I'll put it a different way. If Kiawah came out now, it would not be as good as it was when we last saw it. Now, Kiawah lets you search your deck for 4 fire energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, but it ends your turn. One of the things that was so great about Kiawah was that it was in a format where you could use a supporter card going first. So turn 1 going first when you're not attacking using this would be amazing. But you can't play a supporter card, so it's kind of irrelevant, honestly. You've got to use this, either turn 2 or turn 1 going second. That would actually nerf it quite a bit. It would not be as good. But make no mistake about it, there are some types where this would just be absolutely amazing. And I'm not saying this is the only one, but I'm just saying, top of my head, Dialga V-Star. Or Dialga V it would be when you actually used it. Dialga V-Star would be amazing with this. Because Dialga, legit brilliant card, but just actually super annoyingly expensive. We don't like how annoyingly expensive Dialga is. And honestly, the question isn't whether Dialga is good. We all know Dialga's good. The question is, do we have a good enough way to actually get the energy on? Because, 5 energy, 220, and you take the next turn as well. Also 40 damage plus 40 more for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. I mean, sure, we've got some ways to accelerate energy like Metal Saucer, which are great. But with something like Kiawah, but for metal energy, it would be absolutely stunning. And I'm not saying Kiawah's not coming back for fire. I'm saying Kiawah for any type would be nuts. And there would be Pokemon that could take advantage. And the fact of the matter is, for pretty much the entire time Kiawah was legal in Standard, people played Kiawah decks. Because there's always decks around there that could use that infusion of energy to go nuts in the early game. And now it's gone. And I did consider putting Welder into this slot. I considered making, Welder one of the cards, which is not coming back. But the problem is we have had Gardenia's Vigor, and Gardenia's Vigor is kind of similar. Welder is attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon and draw 3 cards. Gardenia's Vigor is not quite the same. It's a very similar kind of card. But instead of attach 2 energy, draw 3 cards if you attached any energy, Gardenia is instead draw 2 cards if you drew any cards attached to grass energy. Having said that, Gardenia is draw 2, whereas Welder is draw 3, so there is every possibility that Welder is featured in a future video along these lines. For now, I want to focus on Kiawah, because that early game 4 energy, no, it would not be as good nowadays because of the no supporter turn 1 rule, but it would definitely see play in a bunch of decks. We've seen that decks like Charizard VMAX have actually been doing well in tournaments in the not too distant past. We have seen, decks like Center Scorch in the past have been very good decks. With Kiawah, these would be so much better. But as it is, we're basically doing what we're doing with every deck at the moment. We're just using Arceus if we're going to use it and accelerating energy in that way. Now imagine you can still use Arceus, but Kiawah comes along, and sure, you can use that turn 1 Arceus, and I know you can use Arceus turn 1, but Arceus gets 3 energy, it doesn't get 4, and Arceus you have to get the Pokemon and get it in the active, and you have to actually get double turbo energy as well. It's a bit of a combo that doesn't always work. Kiawah's just find a supporter, and spoiler alert, we got Luminion nowadays that would help you find it. So, either you get Kiawah, or you get Luminion for Kiawah, or you get Quick Ball for Luminion for Kiawah. And maybe this is one of the ones that people want less. Maybe you don't put this in the same league as N, and it's probably not incidentally in the same league as N. But this is a card that would help an awful lot of decks in the format, and Pokemon, again, this was seen in Gen 7, it's not been seen, it basically came around once. There was a League promo, but other than that, it came around in Burning Shadows, and we just haven't seen it since. And it's fair to assume this is a card which isn't coming back, but actually there are a lot of decks right now that could really make use of this. That's what I think. I want to know what you think. Do you think any of these cards could come back? Do you think they're good enough to be on this list? And, of course, and this is a very important question, which cards do you think are never going to be reprinted that I could be featuring in a future video? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and a bunch of other card games and video games and all sorts of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and join the Discord and ask me any questions and just generally have a lot of fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.